Am I audible now? Am I audible now? Am I audible now? Paramjeet, am I audible now? Fine, fine. Sorry for there's some technical. I forgot to switch on this mic. I'm sorry. Uh, so the point is, the topic of today's discussion is the Italian unification movement. This Italian unification movement is a very, very important topic of the modern world history. So I will be discussing this topic in two parts. Italian unification movement will be discussed in two parts. Today, I will be discussing part one. In the next class, that is on Monday, I will be completing this particular topic. I will be discussing the second part as well. That's the point. So, take a look at some brief background of the Italian unification movement. So, basically, the time period between 1815 to 1871 is often referred to as the period of Italian unification movement. 1815 to 1871 is the period of the Italian unification movement. The point. So before we go into the details of the Italian unification movement, let us take a look at a brief background. Let us understand the background of the Italian unification movement. So way back in 3rd century BC itself, a system of democracy was in practice in Italy. Way back in 3rd century BC itself, a system or a limited democracy was in practice in Italy. So basically, in 3rd century BC, there was a Roman Republic. The capital of this Roman Republic was Rome itself. And it was this Roman Republic that uh, the point is the ruler of this Roman Republic in the 1st century BC was one Mr. Julius Caesar. In the 1st century BC, Julius Caesar became the ruler of this Roman Republic. So Julius Caesar was a very, very powerful, efficient ruler. It was under his leadership that the whole of a great part of Europe was united, and Rome became the capital of the end. Basically, he basically expanded the Rome's power to almost a great part of Europe. He expanded Rome's power to the great part of Europe by uniting most parts of Europe. That is the point. This is what happened. That's the point. So the whole point is, in the 1st century BC, the Roman Republic emerged as a very powerful kingdom under the leadership of Julius Caesar. Whole or a majority part of Europe was united, and thereby Rome became the center of political activity in Europe. As a result, from 1st century BC onwards, Rome, which was the capital of this Roman Republic, emerged as a center of political activity in Europe. This is what happened. And this Roman Empire, what we call as this is the Roman Empire. This is basically the Roman Empire. And this Roman Empire continued till 5th century AD. But in 5th century AD, the Roman Empire collapsed. With it, the glory of Italy, the cultural and political dominance of Italy also came to an end. This is what happened. So the whole point is, between 1st century BC to 5th century AD, the political and cultural landscape of Europe was dominated by Italy. Italy was a very powerful nation. The point is, it was from Rome that the entire Europe was the rule. In fact, from Rome as the seat of power, entire Europe was ruled by the Roman rulers. This is what happened. But I told you in the 5th century AD, the Roman Empire collapsed. With it, the grandeur, the glory, the cultural and political dominance of Italy ended. And then afterwards, Italy was divided into many parts and came to be ruled by many foreign powers. So from 5th century AD onwards, Italy, the Italian speaking territories were virtually divided and came to be ruled by many foreign powers. Like say, uh, Sardinia, Piedmont is one part of Italy. So this was the only part of Italy which was ruled by the native Italians. Let me just to show you this part. Take a look at this map of Italy. This is basically the map of Italy. But from 5th century AD onwards, this entire Italy was divided into numerous parts and came to be dominated by the foreign powers. Say, for example, this region, the Piedmont region, and this Sardinia, this was the only territory which was under the control of the native Italians. Whereas the rest of Italy, be it say Venetia, Lombardy, Tuscany, these are basically the papal states. After point, the kingdom of the two Sicilies, these are yellow marked region, the Sicilies, all of these came under the control of the foreign dynasties. So, for example, I told you the Sardinia Piedmont, it came under the control of the native Italian dynasty. We call this as the dynasty that ruled uh, this Sardinia Piedmont was the local uh, Italian dynasty called the House of Savoy. Lombardy and Venetia, on the other hand, came under the control of the Habsburg of Austria. Austria is a neighboring country of neighboring territory of Italy. So Austria was ruled by a very powerful kingdom during the medieval times known as the Habsburg kingdoms. So basically, a part of the Italian territory came under the control of even the Habsburgs of Austria. So Lombardy and Venetia, these are basically Italian speaking territories, but they came under the control of Habsburg of Austria. And similarly, the central part of Italy, it came under the control of Pope. Pope had his rule over the central part of Italy. We call these territories as the papal states. Then we have to the south of Italy, two Sicilies were established. These are two kingdoms south of located in the south of Italy, and these two Sicilies, these two kingdoms, basically came under the control of the Bourbon dynasty of Spain. Spain was basically ruled by a dynasty known as the Bourbon dynasty. So these Bourbon rulers of Spain had their control over the two Sicilies. This is what happened. So the whole point which I'm trying to argue is, so from 5th century AD onwards, Italy was virtually divided into numerous parts and came to be dominated, and these many parts of Italy came to be dominated by various foreign powers. These are the one. So in towards the end of the 18th century AD, that is in 1799, Napoleon became the French ruler. So Napoleon carried out many invasions on Italy. It was Napoleon who defeated most of these foreign rulers who were ruling Italy and brought the entire Italian speaking territories under his control. Let me repeat. Napoleon became the French ruler in 1799. So Napoleon was a very, very powerful ruler. It was during Napoleon's time period that many invasions were carried out on Italy. When I say Italy, I'm referring to all these Italian speaking territories, be it Lombardy, Venetia, be it the Papal State, be it the two Sicilies. In all of these territories, Napoleon carried out many invasions. The rulers, these foreign rulers, were defeated, and the entire, this whole, a majority part, a great part of the Italian speaking territories were brought under the control of Napoleon. So the point is, it was Napoleon who unintentionally aroused national sentiments among the Italians. Italians remained divided from a very long time. It was Napoleon who, by occupying all of these Italian speaking territories, it is this Napoleon who, by occupying Italian speaking territories and thereby bringing the Italian speaking territories under one political rule, unintentionally sparked ideas of unity among the Italians. So the whole point is, the credit for arousing national sentiment among the Italians to a certain extent goes to Napoleon, because he was the one who defeated the foreign rulers, foreign dynasties who were ruling over Italy, but he united all of these Italian speaking territories under his control. But by doing so, he unintentionally sparked the ideas of unity among the Italians. But the point is, in 1815, Napoleon was defeated. In 1815, the European powers formed a confederation and invaded France. In this invasion, Napoleon was defeated, and thereafterwards, in 1815, a meeting was organized known as the Congress of Vienna 1815. So basically, after the fall of Napoleon, the victorious side organized a conference called as the Congress of Vienna. Let me repeat this point once again. So basically, by 1813, Napoleon was at the height of his power. He became very, very aggressive. So the aggressive foreign policy of Napoleon brought various continental countries of Europe, together. So, for example, England, Russia, France, at a point, Spain, Portugal, etc., etc. All of these countries of Europe came together and formed a confederation. They formed a union. They formed a confederation. I hope I am clear. So uh, instead of a confederation, the better word is coalition. So these countries of Europe came together and formed a coalition. So this coalition fought a war with Napoleon in 1815, in which Napoleon was defeated. Napoleon was basically defeated. And thereafterwards, the victorious side, that is the members of the coalition, organized a meeting at Vienna called as the Congress of Vienna 1815. And it is in this Congress of Vienna 1815, a decision was taken to restore the pre-revolutionary conditions existing in Europe. It was in this Congress of Vienna, a decision was taken to re-establish the pre-revolutionary conditions in Europe. So basically, they decided to restore the pre-Napoleonic order. They restored the pre-Napoleonic order in Europe, and thereby, by doing so, the Congress of Vienna once again revived the foreign rule in Italy, and by doing so, the Italy was once again reduced to merely a geographical expression. So the whole point which I'm trying to convey is, the Congress of Vienna was reactionary. The Congress of Vienna, instead of uh, addressing the concerns of the people, the Congress of Vienna acted very, very reactionary. Its actions were quite reactionary. The Congress of Vienna took a decision to re-establish the pre-Napoleonic conditions existing in Europe. In other words, it took a decision to once again divide it took a decision to once again revive the rule of the foreign dynasties in Italy. It took a decision to revive the rule of the foreign dynasties in Italy. So, by doing so, the Congress of Vienna virtually reduced Italy to merely a geographical expression. In other words, there was no political there. In other words, politically speaking, there was no Italy. It merely became a geographical expression by 1815. But the point is, it was Napoleon who sowed the seeds of uh, nationalism among the Italians. That's the point. So, but point is, by 1815, once again, the rule of the foreign dynasties got re-established in Italy. This is what happened. So the point is, though the Italians remained divided, the Italians shared a common language, spoke the same language, their culture was the same, and therefore this gradually led to a growing desire for unity. So the point is, the Italians, though they remained divided for very long time, they spoke the same language, their culture was the same, and moreover, since they remained united for some time during Napoleon's period, once again, the point is, uh, they began to basically uh, the, it it basically increased their desire for unification. That's the point. So the point which I'm trying to convey is, Italians, uh, they desired unification, and therefore the Italian unification movement began. We call it as a Risorgimento in revival. The whole point which I'm trying to convey is, so the Congress of Vienna once again re-established the pre-revolutionary conditions, but the people of Italy desired unity, and therefore Italian unification movement began in 1815 itself. And this Italian unification movement is called Risorgimento, meaning revival. Basically, the objective of the Italian unification movement was to bring Italy together as a one nation. Wanted to make all the Italian speaking territories as one nation. So, in this regard, the role played by four individuals is noteworthy. So, the leaders who played a role, an important role in the Italian unification movement was, one is Mazzini, second is Garibaldi, third is what we call as the Count Cavour, Count Camillo di Cavour, and finally we have Victor Emmanuel. So Victor Emmanuel was basically the ruler of Sardinia Piedmont. He was the ruler of Sardinia Piedmont. Count Cavour happened to be the Prime Minister of Sardinia Piedmont. We will be discussing a few details relating to all four individuals shortly. So the point which I'm trying to convey is, uh, the Italian unification movement began in 1815. It is called as Risorgimento, and four individuals played a very important role in this Italian unification movement, and these are the four individuals. That's the point. So between 1815 and 1871, a series of revolutions were carried out. After these series of revolutions and diplomatic efforts, Italy was finally united in 1871. So basically, between 1815 to 1871, numerous revolutions were carried out in Italy. As a result of the diplomatic efforts during this period, that is between 1815 to 1871, finally, Italy got united into one nation in 1871. That's the point. So basically, Italy became united, and a new Italian kingdom was formed in 1871. And the king of this new Italian kingdom was Victor Emmanuel II. Now let us take a look at this map. Take a look at, the point is, the course of the Italian unification. I told you 1815 to 1871 is the time period during which Italian unification movement was carried out. At a point. So this Italian unification movement can broadly be discussed in two phases. One is 1820 to 1850. Second is 1850 to 1870. Finally, in 1871, the Italian unification was completely achieved. At a point, it was completely achieved. So take a look at phase one. So in phase one, in 1920s, numerous secret societies emerged in Italy. Phase one, that is between 1820 to 1850, numerous secret societies emerged in Italy. The most famous of these secret societies is a secret society called Carbonari. So it had large number of members in it. Carbonari was at the forefront of carrying various revolutions in Italy between 1820 to 1870. Was at the forefront of carrying the Italian unification movement. So the objective of this secret society Carbonari was to expel the foreigners out of Italy and achieve Italian unification. That was its objective. Basically, its objective was to end the foreign rule and unite Italy. So basically, between 1820 to 1850, this Carbonari was involved in carrying out various rebellions in Italy against the foreigners. So, for example, in 1820, it organized a rebellion in Naples. Take a look at this map. Basically, this is uh, the Naples, which was under the control of the Bourbons of Spain. In 1820, it organized a rebellion in Naples. In 1821, it organized another rebellion in Lombardy, which was under the control of the Habsburg of Austria. That's the point. But the point is, both of these rebellions were suppressed by Austria. Both of these rebellions were suppressed by Austria. So Carbonari's efforts went in vain. And third, in 1830, a revolution broke out in France. So basically, in 1830, the people of France revolted against absolute monarchy. So in 1830, once again, France became a constitutional monarchy. In 1830, there was a revolution in France. In 1830, the people of France revolted against absolute monarchy. And after this revolution, France once again became a constitutional monarchy in 1830. Inspired by the revolution in France, the, the people of various parts of Europe revolted against their respective governments. So, inspired by this July Revolution of 1830 that occurred in France, the people of various parts of Europe got inspired, and thereby they started rebelling against their respective governments. So rebellions were also carried out even in the Italian territories. So the July Revolution 1830 greatly inspired the Italians to revolt against their respective governments. But the point is, even this July Revolution was suppressed by Austria. I told you Austria was a very powerful kingdom which is just beside that of Italy. So Austria was very strong. Austria never wanted the revolution to succeed in Italy because Austria wanted to have its complete hold over Italy. So Austria remained very, very strong. Austria very effectively suppressed even this 1830 rebellions that were carried out in Italy. And in 1848, there was one more revolution in France. We call it as the February Revolution. Let me repeat. In 1848, there was one more revolution in France. We call it as February Revolution. So in this revolution, the French people revolted against its government. So this time, in 1848, even constitutional monarchy was abolished. and France was declared as a republic for the second time. Let me repeat, this was a revolution in France, not in Italy. The February Revolution 1848. So basically, in 1848, France became a republic for the second time. So basically, uh, once again, the people of Italy took this revolution of France as an inspiration. It started revolting against their governments on a very big scale. So basically, taking the February Revolution of 1848 as an inspiration, the people of the people of Italy began to carry out rebellion against their respective governments. When I say respective governments, basically in Italian-speaking territories, various foreigners were ruling. These rebellions were aimed at those foreign rulers. That's the point. So basically, take a look at some very important uprisings that happened in Italy after the February Revolution of 1848. So there was an uprising in Lombardy, Venetia. So after the February 1848 revolution in France, numerous uprisings began to take place in Italy. One such uprising is an uprising called the Lombardy Venetia uprising. That's the point. So basically, the people of Lombardy and Venetia revolted against the Austrian rule because this Lombardy and Venetia, the Italian speaking territories, were under the control of Austria. A large scale uprising was carried out. So after the uprising in Lombardy and Venetia, the ruler of Sardinia Piedmont by name Charles Albert declared war against Austria. I told you the ruler of Sardinia Piedmont was the only native Italian ruling over an Italian speaking territory. So Charles Albert, the ruler of Sardinia Piedmont, happened to be the only native ruler ruling over the Italian territory. The other parts of the territories, the other Italian territories were under the control of foreign rulers. I already explained this to you. So the Sardinia Piedmont was under the control of one Mr. Charles Albert. As soon as the people of Lombardy and Venetia revolted, Charles Albert wanted to help the people of Lombardy Venetia, and therefore, as soon as the people of Lombardy and Venetia revolted, Charles Albert, the ruler of Sardinia Piedmont, declared war against Austria. But unfortunately, in this war, Charles Albert was defeated in 1849. This is what happened. So in 1849, Charles Albert was defeated. He was basically defeated by the Austrian rulers. So therefore, in 1849 itself, Charles Albert abdicated the throne in favor of his son Victor Emmanuel II. So in 1849, after he defeated the hands of the Austrian king, Charles Albert abdicated the throne in favor of his son Victor Emmanuel II. So the point is, Victor Emmanuel II became the ruler of Sardinia Piedmont in 1849. It was under the leadership of Victor Emmanuel that Italian unification became a reality in 1871. This is what happened. So the whole point which I'm trying to convey is this uprising in Lombardy and Venetia that happened in 1848-1849 was ultimately suppressed by Austria. This is what happened. It was ultimately suppressed by Austria. At the point. So what was the outcome of phase 1? I told you Italian unification was carried out in two phases. Phase 1 is between 1820 to 1850. Phase 2 is between 1850 to 1870. So during 1820 to 1850, in Italy, numerous rebellions were carried out. One in 1820, one in 1821, the other in 1830, the other in 1848. So numerous rebellions were carried out in Italy, but ultimately all of those rebellions were suppressed. But who suppressed all of them? All of these rebellions were suppressed by Austria. Austria was very, very powerful. Austria was the one which ruthlessly suppressed all of these rebellions in Italy. So basically, what was the outcome? What were the lessons learned in the first place? It became very clear to all that Austria was the principal obstacle to the Italian unity. Basically, things became very, very clear by about 1850 that the principal obstacle to the Italian unity is Austria. So it became very clear that as long as Austria continues to have its influence in the Italian territories, Italian unification can never become a reality. So basically, in the first phase itself, a lesson was learned that the chief power that is stopping Italian unification is Austria. And it also became very clear that as long as Austria continued to have its influence in Italy, Italian unification can never become a reality. This was the realization, uh, that was the conclusion to which uh, the politicians of Italy came by about 1850. So it was from 1850 to 1870. The second phase was carried out. Second phase of Italian unification was carried out. It was in this phase that finally Italian unification became a reality. Okay, point. So that's about the first phase of Italian unification. In the next class, I will be discussing the second phase of Italian unification. So in the next class, I will take up uh, uh, I will discuss about I will take up the discussion on the various steps that were taken to achieve Italian unification, and I will also discuss the role of different individuals who played a role in the Italian unification process. I will be discussing the same in the next class. Fine. So that's all for today. See you in the next class.